A single mother whispered she couldn't afford a Barbie for her daughter's birthday, but what happened next inside that toy store changed her entire life and exposed a secret buried for years. The toy aisle smelled of new plastic and faint vanilla from the bakery nearby. Soft music drifted from hidden speakers, but it only made the silence between them heavier. Under the bright lights, the dolls gleamed, their pink boxes stacked like promises she could not keep. Her daughter's small hand slipped into hers. "Mom, can I have this one? Please?" The Barbie's smile shimmered through the transparent plastic, mocking her trembling reflection. She swallowed hard. Her fingers brushed the price tag. Too much. Far too much. The fluorescent light flickered above them. Her throat tightened. Her heart beat so loudly she was sure someone could hear it. She bent down, voice low, barely above a whisper. "I can't afford a Barbie for your birthday." Her daughter blinked, confusion softening into quiet disappointment. The mother forced a smile that hurt her cheeks. She guided her away from the shelf. Each step felt heavier than the last. Behind them, someone cleared their throat. A man's voice, calm, firm, used to being obeyed. "Excuse me." She turned. The man was tall, dressed in a suit too sharp for a place like this. He held a phone in one hand, a shopping basket in the other. His face seemed vaguely familiar, the kind that had been printed in newspapers and boardroom magazines. He stepped closer. "You said you cannot afford that Barbie?" Her face burned. "Yes," she whispered, eyes fixed on the floor tiles that glimmered like glass. Her daughter clung to her coat. The man's gaze softened, but there was something else in it, something unreadable. He looked at the Barbie, then at the little girl, then back to her. He reached into his pocket. Her stomach twisted. Was he about to offer money? Pity? The thought made her skin prickle. But then he did something she did not expect. He walked to the shelf and began scanning the boxes, row after row, each Barbie brighter than the next. He stopped on one labeled CEO Barbie. He lifted it, studying the doll's tailored blazer and confident smile. He turned back to her. "Do you know what this one represents?" She opened her mouth, but no words came. Her daughter watched, wide-eyed. The man crouched, meeting the little girl's gaze. "This one runs her own company," he said quietly. "She builds things. She makes decisions. She creates jobs for others." The girl's eyes lit up. The mother felt something twist inside her chest, pride, maybe, mixed with shame. The man stood again, expression unreadable. He walked toward the register without another word. The mother stood frozen. Her fingers trembled. The world around her seemed to blur, the hum of the lights, the scent of sugar, the chatter of distant shoppers. The man returned, a small bag in hand. He held it out to her daughter. "This is for you," he said. The little girl gasped, clutching the bag. The mother's lips parted, but no sound emerged. "I cannot accept." The man interrupted gently. "You can." For a moment, the air between them felt still, charged. Then his phone buzzed. He glanced at it, and something in his face shifted, not kindness, but calculation. He looked back at her. "What is your name?" Her pulse quickened. She hesitated. "Maria." He nodded slowly. Then, almost to himself, he murmured, "Maria. I have been looking for you." The sound of the toy store faded away. Her breath caught in her throat. The bag crinkled in her daughter's small hands. The man's eyes held hers, steady, deliberate, knowing. And in that instant, Maria realized, this was not about a doll. It was about something else entirely. "You said." Her heartbeat thundered in her ears. She blinked, unsure if she had heard him correctly. The air felt thick, almost electric. "What do you mean you have been looking for me?" she asked, her voice trembling. The man's jaw tightened. He stepped closer, lowering his voice so only she could hear. "You worked at Franklin Textiles 5 years ago, did you not?" Her stomach dropped. Memories she had tried to bury surfaced, the long nights, the sudden layoffs, the cold letter that ended everything. Yes, she breathed. How do you know that? His gaze didn't waver. I am Richard Hale, the CEO of Franklin Holdings. The name hit her like ice water. The air in her lungs vanished. Her daughter clutched her sleeve tighter, sensing the change. She remembered the company's closure, the day they locked the gates without warning. She remembered standing outside with other workers, their faces pale under the gray sky. No severance. No answers. Just silence. Now the man responsible stood before her in the toy aisle, buying her daughter a Barbie. She wanted to step back, but her legs refused to move. Her throat burned. She could not tell if it was anger or fear. I lost everything because of your company, she whispered. I could not pay rent. I could not feed her. You knew what that decision did to people like us. The words came out sharp, brittle, breaking. Her voice echoed faintly off the plastic shelves. For the first time, his confidence seemed to falter. He looked at the floor, then at the little girl who was hugging the bag to her chest. His mouth opened, but no words came. I did not know, he said finally, barely audible. His hand ran over his tie, as if loosening something invisible. Not like this. Not the faces. Only numbers on a page. Maria stared at him. The silence stretched between them, taut and fragile. Then he reached into his coat again, but this time he pulled out a folded envelope. He hesitated, his fingers trembling ever so slightly. This is not charity, he said. This is correction. He held it out to her. She did not take it. Her heart raced, her vision narrowing until all she could see was his hand, the envelope, the faint gold of a corporate seal pressed into the paper. What is that? She asked. An apology, he said quietly. And an offer. The lights flickered again. Somewhere down the aisle, a child laughed, a high, distant sound that didn't belong in this moment. Maria reached out, slowly, her fingers brushing the envelope. The paper was warm from his hand. But before she could open it, he said something that made her blood run cold. There is something inside that belongs to you. Her hand froze. Her eyes snapped up to his. He looked at her with a strange, almost haunted expression, the look of a man who knew something she did not. What do you mean? She whispered. He stepped back, his voice low. 5 years ago, before the shutdown, someone at the plant reported a financial discrepancy. A missing file. An employee who vanished before we could find her. Her breath caught. Her fingers tightened around the envelope. I thought it was an accounting error, he continued. But then your name appeared, again and again, tied to something you never signed. Maria felt the floor tilt beneath her feet. The world blurred. Her daughter's voice sounded far away. What did you find? She asked, barely able to speak. Richard's eyes met hers. His voice dropped to a whisper. Proof that someone framed you. Maria's breath came shallow and uneven. The word framed seemed to echo inside her skull, bouncing off every thought she had buried for years. Her fingers tightened around the envelope until the paper crumpled. Framed, she repeated, her voice shaking. Her throat felt dry, her palms slick. I do not understand. Richard's expression darkened, not with anger but with something like guilt. He took a slow breath. When the company collapsed, millions vanished from an internal fund. Your name was on the transfer logs. Her mind reeled. That is impossible, she whispered. I had nothing to do with the accounts. I was just a shift supervisor. I know, he said. His tone was calm, but his eyes darted toward the security camera above them. And I believe that now. But someone wanted it to look otherwise. The store seemed to shrink around them. Children's laughter from nearby aisles sounded distant, distorted. The faint smell of plastic turned sharp, almost metallic. Maria's pulse pounded in her ears. I lost my home, she said softly. I lost everything. And you were telling me it was because someone put my name there? Richard nodded once. He glanced at her daughter, then leaned closer. There is more, he said. The person who did it still works for me. Maria's stomach twisted. Her knees felt weak. She wanted to drop the envelope, to walk away, to pretend none of this was happening. But something, curiosity, anger, justice, held her still. Who? She asked. Her voice was quiet, but there was steel beneath it. Richard looked over his shoulder, scanning the aisle. Then he said the name. It hit her like a blow. She felt her heart seize, her breath catch. That name, she had not spoken it in years. The same person who had smiled in her face, offered to help with her termination paperwork. Her daughter tugged at her sleeve. Mommy, the little girl whispered. Maria forced a small smile, her hands trembling. It is okay, sweetheart, she murmured, though her body said otherwise. Richard's voice was quiet but urgent now. I should not be telling you this here, he said. They will notice soon. They already know I found the file. Maria's eyes widened. What do you mean they? He hesitated. Then, slowly, he glanced toward the end of the aisle. A tall woman in a gray coat had stopped near the registers, watching them. Her face was half hidden behind a shelf of dolls, but Maria recognized her instantly. Her blood ran cold. It was her. The same woman who had handed her the pink slip years ago. The same woman who had smiled when she signed the wrong line. Richard's jaw tightened. Do not look directly at her, he whispered. Just take your daughter and walk toward the exit. I will distract her. Maria's hands trembled as she gripped the envelope. Her daughter looked up, confused, clutching the Barbie bag tighter. Mommy, are we leaving? Yes, baby, she said softly, forcing her voice to stay calm. We are going home. She took one step. Then another. Her heart hammered with every movement. But before she reached the aisle's end, a voice called out behind her. Cold. Familiar. Maria. She froze. The sound of her name in that tone made every muscle in her body lock. Her daughter's hand tightened in hers. Slowly, she turned. The woman in the gray coat was smiling, the same smile Maria remembered from that terrible day. And in her hand, she held another envelope. Identical to the one Maria was holding. You said. Maria stared at the second envelope. Her pulse roared in her ears. The air between them felt charged, as if the entire store had paused to listen. The woman's heels clicked softly against the polished tile as she stepped closer. Her perfume, sharp and sweet, flooded Maria's senses. It was the same scent from the old office halls, the one that clung to betrayal. Richard moved subtly between them, his tone steady but his eyes alert. Elaine, he said quietly. This is not the place. Elaine smiled wider. Oh, but it is, she replied. After all, she deserves to hear the truth, does she not? Maria's throat tightened. Her daughter pressed against her leg, sensing the tension. The fluorescent lights buzzed above them, flickering once, a pulse of white across the dolls' perfect faces. What truth? Maria asked, her voice raw. I have been living in shadows for 5 years. You took my job, my name. What more could you possibly have to say? Elaine tilted her head slightly, her eyes glinting. You think you were just a victim, she said. You think someone framed you because you were unlucky? Maria's fingers curled around the envelope until it nearly tore. Richard's jaw clenched. Elaine, he said, voice low. Stop. But Elaine ignored him. She stepped closer, lowering her voice to a near whisper. You were not framed, Maria. You were chosen. The words sliced through the noise around them. Maria blinked, confused. Chosen? For what? Elaine smiled, slow and deliberate. For silence. Richard's eyes widened. Enough, he said sharply, reaching for Elaine's arm. But she pulled away, her gaze locked on Maria. You knew too much, she continued. You saw the numbers before they vanished. You signed the wrong form at the wrong time, and that made you dangerous. Maria's breath hitched. She tried to remember, the stacks of papers, the missing signatures, the late-night meeting before the plant closed. Her chest tightened as fragments surfaced, a glimpse of a confidential report, a supervisor's nervous glance, her own initials scribbled where they should not have been. I did not understand what I was signing, she whispered. Elaine's smile deepened. Exactly. Richard stepped between them now, his voice sharp with command. This ends here. Elaine's hand darted forward, holding out her envelope. Then open this, she said. Let her see what her apology is worth. Maria's heart pounded. The envelopes, both sealed, both marked with the same crest, felt suddenly heavy in her hands. She looked at Richard. His expression was tight, almost fearful. Maria, he said quietly. Do not open it here. Elaine's eyes flashed. Why not? What are you afraid she will see? The world around them seemed to vanish, the bright aisles, the hum of shoppers, even the music overhead. Only the three of them existed now, standing in a tense triangle between the rows of perfect, smiling dolls. Maria took a shaky breath. Her fingers slipped under the flap. The paper tore softly. Her daughter watched, silent and still. Inside was a single photograph. She pulled it out with trembling hands. Her breath stopped. It was a picture of her, standing in the factory office, 5 years ago, signing a document. Next to her in the frame was Elaine. And behind them, half hidden in the shadow of the doorway, was Richard. Her hand went cold. Her knees almost gave way. She looked up at him, the photograph shaking between her fingers. You were there, she said, her voice barely a whisper. His expression broke, guilt flickering across his face like lightning. And in that instant, Maria realized, neither of them had come here by accident. You said. The photograph slipped from Maria's trembling hand and floated to the floor, landing face down with a soft whisper. Her daughter bent as if to pick it up, but Maria's hand shot out, stopping her. Her heart was pounding so hard it hurt. You were both there, she said, staring at Richard and Elaine in disbelief. Her voice was shaking but growing louder. You said I was framed. You said you were trying to help. Richard took a hesitant step forward. His voice was low, almost pleading. Maria, please. It is not what it looks like. Elaine laughed, the sound sharp as glass. It is exactly what it looks like, she said. Her eyes glinted with a kind of cruel amusement. She was the perfect scapegoat. You remember, Richard, she was quiet, obedient, desperate. The kind no one listens to. Maria felt the blood rush to her face. Her hands trembled with fury. Her daughter's small fingers clung to her coat, eyes wide, frightened. Richard turned on Elaine. You are twisting everything, he said, his voice shaking for the first time. I did not know they used her name. I did not know they ruined her life. Elaine raised an eyebrow. But you signed the authorization, did you not? He froze. Silence fell heavy between them. The hum of the store lights felt deafening. Maria stared at him, her voice trembling. You knew. Richard's lips parted, but no words came. He looked suddenly smaller, stripped of the authority that once filled his presence. For a moment, his eyes flickered with something like shame. I tried to fix it, he whispered. I wanted to make it right. That is why I came here. I wanted to tell you. Elaine smirked. Tell her? Or control her? You were never good at guilt, Richard. Only at survival. Maria took a step back. Her mind was spinning, the layoffs, the missing money, the signatures, the silence. It all crashed together into one horrifying truth. They were both guilty. One had orchestrated it. The other had let it happen. And now they were standing in front of her, surrounded by shelves of plastic perfection, A sea of lifeless smiles watching her fall apart. Maria's voice cracked as she spoke. You destroyed me. You destroyed my life, and you think you can just show up here, in front of my child, and fix it with a toy and an envelope? Richard's face twisted with regret. Maria, please. It is not safe to talk here. Elaine should not have come. They are still watching. Elaine's smirk faded, just slightly. Her eyes darted to the ceiling cameras. Then, with a slow and measured tone, she said, he is right about that. The lights flickered again, longer this time. A low hum filled the air, followed by a faint static crackle. Maria glanced up, confused. The cameras above them had turned, all at once, pointing directly toward her. Richard's voice dropped to a whisper. They know you have the envelope. Maria's breath caught. Who? Before he could answer, a voice echoed through the intercom. Cold. Artificial. Security to aisle 7. Elaine's face drained of color. Richard cursed under his breath. Maria's daughter clutched her mother's arm, terrified. What is happening? Maria whispered. Richard leaned close, his voice trembling now. Someone else was involved. Someone higher than both of us. You were never supposed to see that photograph. Elaine took a sharp step backward, her composure cracking. Her hand slipped into her coat pocket. Maria saw the movement, subtle, quick. The glint of something metallic beneath the fabric. Her stomach dropped. She grabbed her daughter, pulling her close. Elaine, Richard warned, his voice rising. Do not do this here. Elaine's eyes were wild now, desperate. You do not understand, she hissed. She was not supposed to be found. The sound of footsteps echoed down the aisle, heavy, synchronized, approaching fast. Security. Maria's breath came in short, sharp bursts. She looked down at her daughter's frightened face, then back at the woman with her hand in her pocket. Every instinct screamed at her to run. But before she could move, Elaine's other hand shot out, not at Maria, but at Richard. The sharp crack of a gunshot split the air. The sound of the gunshot tore through the air, shattering the illusion of safety the store had offered. Children screamed. Boxes toppled. A mother somewhere called her child's name. Maria's ears rang, the world around her spinning in slow motion. She dropped to her knees, shielding her daughter beneath her arms. The Barbie bag crinkled between them, absurdly bright amid the chaos. When she looked up, Richard was on the ground. A dark bloom spread across his shirt, his face pale and stunned. Elaine stood frozen, her hand still outstretched, her weapon trembling. Her mask of control had fallen away, now she looked human, terrified. Security rushed in, their shouts echoing. One of them tackled Elaine, the gun clattered across the floor, spinning until it struck a shelf of dolls. The plastic faces stared down, unblinking. Maria crawled to Richard. He was breathing, but shallowly. His hand found hers, weak but desperate. Maria, he whispered. His voice was fading, frayed at the edges. In my office, there's a drive. It has everything. The transfers. The names. Give it to the press. Tears blurred her vision. Why are you telling me this? He looked at her daughter, then back at her. Because you still have something I lost, he said softly. A reason. His grip loosened. His eyes went still. Maria sat frozen, the sound of sirens growing louder outside. Elaine was being dragged away, shouting things Maria could no longer hear. The store's bright lights felt harsh now, almost cruel. Her daughter tugged gently at her sleeve. Mommy, she whispered, her voice trembling. Can we go home now? Maria wiped her tears, her hand shaking. She looked down at the child, her reason, and nodded. Yes, she said quietly. We are going home. She stood, clutching the envelope Richard had given her, now marked with his blood. The Barbie bag dangled from her daughter's hand, swinging softly as they walked toward the exit. Outside, the air was cold and sharp, the city lights reflecting off the wet pavement. For the first time in years, Maria felt something unfamiliar, not safety, not peace, but purpose. She looked down at the small, perfect doll peeking through the plastic bag. Its smile caught the glow of the streetlights. And for a fleeting moment, Maria smiled back. Then she turned, holding her daughter's hand tighter, and stepped into the night. Ready, at last, to tell the world the truth.